You want some games, yeah? You want them cheap, yeah? Well, check out the link in the description to get the G2A, bitch. Okay, just before the video starts, if you are let's try that again. If you're a returning subscriber to my channel and you're wondering, hey, why are you uploading a Destiny video? It's like the first one you've done, like blah blah blah. The reason why is because for the past like week, I've just been grinding the hell out of Destiny. I'm having a lot of fun playing it, trying to get my level characters to the characters to level 400 and shit like that. I can't talk today for fuck's sake. Well, anyway, the reason why is just because I've been playing Destiny for like a week straight, and I don't want to make a video on Borderlands or another game that I don't want to make because I don't enjoy making it. So I hope you understand. I hope you actually enjoy. So let's get on with the video before I actually kill myself because my words are jumbling up so much. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. My name's LFX. Now, in this video, as you can probably see, it's a Destiny video. Now, this is actually going to be my first Destiny video, so I hope you guys take it quite well. As you probably know, my fan base are not around here, well, probably not around here for Destiny, so make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments if you would do so kindly. But anyway, let's get on with the video. So today we're going to be talking about the 10 best stories you might not know about Destiny. Now, I get this article off Den of Geek showing the top 10 things you might not know about Destiny, so let's have a little look here. So, one of the major criticisms of Destiny in its first year has to have been the lack of story on the surface. The game's strength isn't depth of character or richness of world, it's serviceable gameplay and thriving multiplayer community. But with every expansion, including this month's The Taken King, this was quite a while ago, Bungie suggests that the game might become more character driven, might fully express its world of space wizards and strange sciences. But it doesn't always translate to more characterization for the people the player encounters, in the tower and in the field. The criticism is certainly valid. One only has to take a look as far as the great scholarly speaker, a character who's meant to send the player on a great journey with an inspiring monologue about the state of the world, but instead only adds to the vague backstory that makes up most of Destiny's foundation. The speaker's most famous line, with which many fans are most familiar with, is well known, because it's become somewhat of a joke about the game's lack of backstory. Quote, "I could tell you of the great battle centuries ago." End quote. That infamous line continues on a quietly sinister, poetic note. Open quote, "There are many tales told throughout the city to frighten children. Lately, those tales have stopped. Now, the children are frightened anyway." End quote. There's history there, though even if the speaker doesn't elaborate on it, Destiny hides great characters in vignettes on the online Grimoire cards, and in the flavor text displayed alongside armor and weapons. Though these little in-game hints, the most devoted fans have pieced together the stories of Guardians that came before, the player's hero character and their many adventures. The Battle of the Twilight Gap, the power of the Vex simulations, the well-intentioned betrayal for which Petrovenge must atone. All of these exist in the Destiny lore, if you know where to look. They can draw out the creative stories in Destiny which make the game's world a unique and rich experience, and bring more context to the gameplay. Perhaps if the speaker was more talkative, it would be easier to find them. You climb the stairs to the speaker's desk after a mission, your armor stained with oil and blood. You've come to look at the stock, to trade and buy out a habit before you drop back into the battlefield or the crucible. But today the speaker turns his mask towards you. He asks you if you want to hear a story of the weapon on your back. You have been nervous about carrying the thorn lately. I don't know what that's for, but let's continue. So the first one is the thorn. The thorn hand cannon gives players clues to one of the most story-driven pieces of lore in Destiny. A western-style tale of corruption and betrayal. The thorn was once called the Rose and belonged to a guardian named Dredgen Yor, who lived some time before the rebirth of the player character, and after the Hive entered the solar system. Dredgen Yor was, quote, "a noble man, who lost himself to sadness and pride, turning the Rose into the Thorn." His story is bound up of that with Jaren Ward, the bearer of the exotic hand cannon The Last Word. Jaren Ward freed the frontier town of Palamon from a leader who had become a dictator, but Dredgen Yor attacked and destroyed both the town and Ward himself. Ward's protege, Ship Malpor, eventually defeated Dredgen Yor, leaving the corrupted Thorn without a master. Next we got Pahanin, the Hunter. Another of the Thorn's victims was Pahanin, a hunter. Dredging Yor defeated Pahanin sometime after Yor became a champion in the Crucible wargames using the Thorn, as are the other characters in the cast of gunslingers. The information we have about Pahanin comes from the flavor text on exotic weapons. Pahanin was the creator of Super Good Advice, a machine gun made using smart technology that may have developed a sentience of its own. This wasn't coincidence. Pahanin created it when he became too terrified to travel alone. Next up, we have Kabir the Titan. Now, if you do actually know, Kabir was he developed a fire team, and they all went into the Vault of Glass to try to defeat it, along with Praedith and some others. So let's read about it. Pahanin had good reason to be afraid. He had witnessed the death of Kabir, a Titan who explored the Vault of Glass. Kabir built himself a set of armor out of the remains of the Vex his fire team killed there, and became obsessed with the Vex in his attempt to get past the Garden's defences. Kabir's fire team was not so much killed as erased from existence by the Vex's time and reality warping abilities. Quote, "There was no one with me," end quote. Kabir wrote, quote, "But I was not alone," end quote. His work is the reason that fire teams can now pass through the Vault of Glass raid. Before he was utterly consumed by the Vex consciousness, he created the Aegis Relic Shield, quote, "a wound in the vault," close quote, "made," quote, "from my own light and from the thickening flesh of the Vex," end quote. Kabir's work is the reason the shield protects players from also being erased by the Templar. So basically the shield you use to like cleanse and stop Atheon from killing you was created by Kabir, so cheers Kabir. Next up we have the Black Garden. The Black Garden's existence was foretold by Pujari, a warlock who drowned in an ocean on Venus. Oh, sad. Before his death, he provided the description of the Black Garden, found in the grimoire, quote, "The garden grows in both directions. It grows into tomorrow and yesterday. The red flowers bloom forever," end quote. It's a bit weird. Pujari also talks about the formation of the Black Garden and the coming of the Vex. The garden's origins are a mystery, although it is suggested that it might have something to do with the Traveller. Quote, "The Traveller moved across the face of the Iron World," close quote, which is, quote, "not the beginning, but is the reason," end quote. In his vision, a flower grows with the shape of a ghost, linking the garden with servants of the Traveller metaphorically, if not literally. Sometime after the garden came to be, the Vex entered. Pujari calls them the Gardeners. Heh, Vex Gardeners. And they protect the garden's dark heart. Up next, we have the Vex. The Vex themselves have the ability to control reality and time, and to influence the perception of other beings. In a conversation between researchers Maya Sundaresh and Chiomi Essie, who are hard at work studying Vex architecture on Venus, we find out that a captured Vex mind has created a simulation of reality inside itself, perfectly replicating its surroundings, including the scientists. The difference between the reality and the simulation is so trivial as to blur the two, making the scientists wonder whether they exist in a real world or in one of 1,000 possible simulations. In the end, 4 researchers use copies of their own Vex-created selves to explore the Vex network, sending human hope and fear into the digital space. Next up, we have a very weird topic, which is on the Exos, which will probably be found out in Destiny 2, hopefully. Because we found about the humans and the Awoken and stuff, we just need to find out about the Exos, so this is what's been found out so far. The canonical birth of the Exos took place using the Deep Stone Crypt, a subroutine which, quote, seeded, end quote, the first Exos consciousness. Its name is now remembered on a Titan sash, on which is painted a picture of the tower that looks a lot like digital confluxes built by the Vex. The Deep Stone Crypt is also mentioned in the grimoire as a legend recorded by a ghost. It tells of a tower the Exos see in their dreams, guarded by everyone they ever met. Whether they want to or not, they have to fight their way through this army of familiar faces. Quote, "We kill them all, I think because we were made to kill, and this is part of us that thinks about nothing else." End quote. Next up we have the War Minds, aka Rasputin and other stuff like that. In the list of intelligent machines in the Destiny universe, the War Minds exist alongside the Exos and the Vex. These artificial These artificial intelligences, or AI, were built as coordinators during the Golden Age, the time during which humanity spread out the solar system, and can be found on Earth and Mars. Oh, I didn't know one could be found on Mars. The war mind Rasputin was the first entity to discover that the darkness has entered the solar system, and went into hibernation when he found that there was no defense against its onslaught. So, next we have Ahamkara, which I'm assuming is a dragon, so let's read up about that. Ahamkara were dragons, okay, yeah, in the classic sense. Wise, reptilian beasts slain by humans in an effort as grandiose as it was tragic. Their only presence in Destiny now is in Amkara's set of armor, but the flavor text gives them a voice. They address the guardians that wear their armor as, quote, O Reader, end quote, or quote, O Bearer, end quote, and talk of the Great Hunt that, after, quote, great deliberation, end quote, amongst the Guardians, rendered them extinct. Up next we have the Nine, aka Zer, and maybe some other people. Little is known about the Nine except that Zer serves as an emissary between them and the tower, bringing powerful weapons and armor with him. The Grimoire presents contradictory, speculative ideas about the Nine, suggesting that they might be anything from human colonists on Jupiter's moons to ghosts to alien Leviathan intelligences, to a pure manifestation of a, quote, a viral language, end quote. Next up we have Petrovenge, aka the Queen's Wrath person in Year 2 and onwards. She served with the Queen, but I don't know what the hell happened to the Queen, so yeah. The emissary from the Reef to the Guardians is Petrovenge, a warrior woman whose role isn't to her liking. Her place as a vendor for visiting Guardians is actually a punishment. In a skirmish between the Reef and the Fallen, she called down an airstrike on Earth that killed not only a group of Fallen, but also 3 strike teams of Guardians and their ghosts. For God's sake, she's got like a 6-man. She still doesn't understand why the Guardians attacked the Fallen when they did, exposing themselves to the airstrike. So she basically just like called in an airstrike and MW2 whacked out 2 fire teams. Well done, Petra. Even before that momentous decision, Petra had tragedy in her life. She lost members of her own fire team, Awoken she called Sisters, at a battle in space station called Amethyst. I've heard of that. Before Guardians were allowed into the Reef, Petra pleaded the Queen of the Reef to be allowed to go back to her home and live among the other Awoken. In the House of Wolves expansion, she can be found in the Vestian Outpost, having received her wish. So that has been it, but there are so many more stories too. The quintessential Titan Whining, which sounds Asian, tragic Eris and her fire team, and Cade 6 Restlessness and Ikora Ray Solitude. Although these are a little more apparent, a bit less hidden. Looking out over the city, you see the world as a stranger place than it was before, less trustworthy. Thinking guns and machine mines in places set outside of time influence your journey. How can you be sure you're the same person as when you started? Destiny is filled with old poetry, open quote, an egg, but I'm not sure if the broth inside is warm still, or if it's gone to rot, or if the warmth comes from the struggles of the tiny winged zygote, or the bleed from the wound, or the thoughts of something thinking very hard, end quote. It's a weird ass quote. Jesus Christ, somebody's on a crack when they made that. This gives the name its unique flavour, as long as the prayers look for it in the grimoire or in flavoured text. While it would be preferable if these stories were easier to find, more important to the player's behaviour, there were so many to uncover. There are more too. The Twilight Gap isn't just an efficient name for a Crucible map. In this way, Destiny presents a unique world that includes both simple shooter gameplay and a world that invites philosophical questions and convolved mythical stories. Sometimes they're just hard to find, but an investigation into the grimoire brings more great stories to light than would first appear. So I'd like to thank you for watching. This has been a cool ass episode about 10 stories you might have not known in Destiny. So if you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. If you are new, make sure to subscribe. Tell me how I did on my first Destiny video, please, because it is my first Destiny video, so I hope I did well. But other than that, I will see you in the next video, guys. Peace.
Cause I got it like that, flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light. Can you get it when you miss me? Like I'm with whiskey, drinking Jim.